Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's Reddit stories are from Am I the A-Hole? Story 1 today is by Are You Super Cereal? Are You Super Cereal? Okay, anyway. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I don't want kids and making her cry in front of her immediate family? I, 34 female, have never wanted to have children. As the eldest daughter of 4, I was always expected to help her take care of my siblings. I have 2 brothers who are 31 and 32 and 1 sister who's 29. Growing up, it felt like my own wants and needs were pushed aside to help my siblings. There was resentment that grew in my youth because my parents supported them in their interest while mine basically got the back burner. My mom worked as a neonatal nurse. She told me about the teenage patients and what they had to go through, complications and all. It was a scare tactic that still haunts me to this day. My dad's mom had him when he was a teen, so they were constantly worried about my sister and I. I've been adamant about my stance for decades. This isn't news. My dad doesn't care, but my mom has told me on numerous occasions that it breaks her heart. Last weekend, my 5 aunts and uncles, 6 cousins, and their babies, 3 of them, came out for a family reunion. I was put on helping duty. Not going to lie, it stung to watch my siblings hang out and play games with everyone. The food was prepared at my mom's house. I drove it over, served it, drove it back, and finished cleaning. Granted, my mom and sister did help with the cooking, but I did the rest. I parked my car and went out to play sand volleyball, and that's where the tension began. My mom asked me in the front of everyone if I was done. I said yes and went on to the court. She stood with her arms crossed the entire time. It was a fun night. Eventually, the park closed. My siblings and cousins helped clean the park. More tension. My mom invited my aunts and uncles over for wine, and my cousins went back to their hotels. I went back to my mom's house to grab my bags from the night before. They were around the table, and one of my uncles mentioned that my cousin was pregnant with her second. After the initial rejoice, my mom said, "That must be nice. My daughter wants to torture me and not give me any babies." Mind you, my brothers have families, and she already has 3 grandchildren. I jokingly remind her that I'm single. First comes love, then comes marriage, then you know the rest. Maybe it was the wine talking, but she started getting upset and said that I was doing it on purpose. My aunts started chiming in, saying that it's every mother's dream to watch her own daughter create her own family, and asked me if I didn't want to make her proud. I had enough. I said I'm my own person and I don't live for her wants, and all of her horror stories from the hospital made me never want to endure childbirth. She yelled, "Oh, so it's my fault?" before crying and running into her room. My aunts and uncles looked at me like I just kicked a dog. My aunt started yelling and calling me selfish. I left. Word got back to my siblings, and my brother asked me why I couldn't have just gone along with it to save face. My mom refuses to talk to me for embarrassing her. Am I the a-hole? How can she say you embarrassed her when somebody else said something and she is the one that started it by saying, "That must be nice, my daughter wants to torture me by not giving me babies"? Your mom is super entitled. But this is a common thing with families, unfortunately. They all want the girl to create babies and reproduce and have children, because that's the only point in life for a woman, right, is to have children. If you don't have kids, it's totally fine, despite what a bunch of people out there who believe they've all got it figured out want to tell you. Down in the comments is one tiny message that I wanted to share that really kind of struck home with me, especially with what's going on in the US right now with women. By Dragon Celica. Nothing like being seen as just a walking, talking uterus. Yeah. As time goes on, you would think that progress would be made instead of regression, but the United States right now is regressing in regards to women. Going completely backwards. And it's like half the country is proud of that fact. Our next story today is by Competitive Bench 6832. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my sister out when I'm the only person in our family she lives close to and she has children? I'm a 31 female and I have not spoken to my sister in 10 years after she had an affair with my ex. I was with my ex from the age of 15 until we were 20. My sister was 19 at the time and the affair had been ongoing. Most likely, they started the affair not that long after my sister turned 18. My ex was the same age as me. My ex proposed to me while we were together. My sister was helping with that and encouraging me to marry him before he proposed. This was so he would be around so they could keep sleeping together. We got engaged, and a few months later my sister told me I couldn't marry him because she was pregnant with his child. She tried to salvage a relationship with me and asked me to understand and not be mad at her. I told her she was disgusting, and I would never forgive her. I also told her parents what she had done. I saw my sister once after her first child was born, a year or so after I learned about the affair. She told me she missed me and she wanted her daughter to know her aunt. She tried her best to get me to at least agree to a relationship with her daughter, but I told her it was not possible and I was still not going to forgive her, and I told her not to talk to me again. My parents and extended family also stopped talking to her when she started dating him for real, and they only resumed contact after they broke up. They then supported her because of the kids. My parents couldn't bring themselves to turn their backs on their grandkids or to sever the relationship forever. I was fine with it because I do understand. But her having kids was not an incentive for me to repair things. I'm now happily married and a mom myself. A few weeks ago, my parents called me and told me that my sister has been living 20 minutes from me for the last 2 years. They know I don't want to talk about her, so until this point, they had not. She moved out of state for a job and then she lost the job, and her landlord had told her she needed to be out in 60 days because he was repurposing the house. Without her original job and with no support network here, she had turned to them. She didn't want to pull her kids away from the place they were used to now, and so my parents decided I should be the one to help. They told me if I could help her by putting her in touch with people for a job and maybe another rental, it would be so amazing. They wanted me to step in before the 60 days was up. I refused to help and told them I will never do a single thing for her again. They pleaded with me to reconsider and told me to think of the kids. They asked me if I really hated my sister that much, and I said yes. I told her it would be bad enough to be the affair partner, but to encourage me to get engaged and help him plan it while they were cheating behind my back was such a low thing to do. I said the fact that she stayed long enough to have another child with him also showed how little she really cared about me. They told me to be a better person than this. Am I the a-hole? It's your choice if you want to be the better person than this or not their choice, and they're not going to force it on you either. She had a child with your ex who you were with for 5 years, who you were going to marry. She doesn't deserve your forgiveness. And now she's suddenly going to be homeless, and your parents are like, well, you're living close to her, you can help her. Tough if she doesn't want to move. If she wants to latch on to them and they want to let her, she can move in with them wherever they are, and they can uproot their life and move there. She had kids with your ex, who you were going to marry. She doesn't get to now come to you for help. You're done with her. She's your sister by blood, not by behavior. I like how they tell you to be the better person here, and yet she doesn't have to be a better person at all. Down in the comments by friend Lily. Not the a-hole, your parents are fine to resume their relationship with their daughter separate from you. But they are completely out of line demanding you do anything. And then to try to shame you when you do not comply is disgusting. They're the ones that need to be better people. No contact is no contact. It doesn't mean no contact until I need to use you and your resources. Hard pass. The person most obligated to help the kids is their father, and the people obligated to help her, if any, are her parents. Our last story today is by Am I the A-hole? Will Throw. Am I the a-hole for not disclosing my will? I'm a 58 male and I was recently diagnosed with a terminal condition. Won't go into details, but it was the classical went in with a paper cut, got out with AIDS Cancer 2000 situation. I've got roughly a year and a half left. Over time, I've made a bunch of unwise decisions. I have multiple children with different women. I have 3 sons, Lance, who's 43, who has 2 daughters, Mark, who's 22, and Tony, who's 15. And 4 daughters, Cammie, who's 38, who has 4 children, Linda, who's 30, Ronnie, who's 28, and Kathy, who's 24. Not gonna lie here, I'll just say that I was only involved in raising Ronnie and Kathy. Their mom died when they were little, and I couldn't refuse to take them in. Ronnie is starting a career in law, and Kathy recently got her degree in agriculture. 9 years ago, I also took in Mark, who was kicked out by his crappy stepdad. Mark decided against pursuing higher education. I own a ranch. It's not a little one, though, but we're managing just fine with the help of hired staff. We have about 500 heads of cattle, not counting the horses. The ranch has been in my family for generations. I know for certain that the only children who would be interested in preserving the ranch are Kathy and Mark. Maybe it's just my delusions of grandeur, but I am very passionate about passing the ranch down to my children so they'll be able to continue the family tradition. Knowing my children and knowing they probably inherited my amazing personality, I can say for sure that the second I draw my last breath, there will be an inheritance war vicious enough to make Middle East and Eastern Europe seem like a recess fight in kindergarten. It will be nasty, painful, and disgusting. I wrote a will. As per my will, the ranch will go to Kathy and Mark 50-50, including all the machines, trucks, other equipment, financial assets. Ronnie, the executor of the will, is getting my 1970s Lincoln Continental. She's the one who's driving this car for the last 5 years, and she's the one paying for maintenance, insurance, everything. The other children get $10,000 each, and Tony gets my car, a 2010 Chevy Suburban, purely because it's a safe car and he's getting his license this year. The grandkids also get $5,000 each. It's not much, but I don't own much either. I've notified my children that I don't have much time left. Of course, they all asked to see the will. I know that the second they see it, the crap will hit the fan and things will escalate. I don't want it. I don't want to spend my final year seeing my children suffer and fight. Ronnie advised me against disclosing the will. She's a skilled lawyer, so I trust her completely. I refused to disclose the will, and now my children are enraged. They keep speculating about the will. They keep pestering me and giving me advice on what I should leave to whom. Am I the a-hole for refusing to disclose the contents of my will? By now, the only ones who know about them are me and Ronnie, and I intend to keep it that way. My stance on this is pretty straightforward. It's your will. It's your property. You don't owe anybody any inheritance at all. You want your ranch to stay in the family. You have made the decision with your property of what you can do with it. On top of that, you're kind of a crap dad. You called one of your own kids' stepdads a crappy stepdad. How about you? You weren't in most of their lives, and you only took care of 2 of them because the mom died and you couldn't refuse to take them in. You're kind of a jerk. It sucks that you have whatever terminal illness that's going on with you right now. That sucks for you, but you were kind of a crappy dad. Straight up, though, regarding your will, it's your property. You can do what you want with it. And it doesn't matter what they want. Your will is what you want to do with it. Are you an a-hole for refusing to disclose it? No. Let them see it when you're gone. Let them see it when you're gone. And if they fight over it, it doesn't matter. It's your will. It's going where you will it to go. That's all. The comments in this one were pretty split, honestly. Some people were saying not the a-hole, and some were saying you're the a-hole. I'm going to read first one of the you're the a-hole ones. By Ran Out of Options 7. Going against the grain here with you're the a-hole. It all just sounds like one cop-out after another. You didn't raise the majority of your children. Even the ones you did raise, you couldn't refuse to take them in. Your son was only taken in after his a-hole stepdad kicked him out. Well, his real dad didn't take him in from the get-go, so what does that make you? Then, you want to keep your will confidential because you don't want to handle the consequences of your own decision of how you were choosing to distribute your assets. So you would rather your children all rip each other's throats out and hate on one another than direct the anger where it really belongs, on you. Normally, I'd think they should be more concerned with enjoying the time you have remaining and filling it with pleasant memories, but I really don't think that applies here. They have dealt with an absentee father their whole lives who is more concerned about his ranch than them. See, I agree with them, but I still think your will is your will. It doesn't matter what's in the will. It doesn't matter if people don't like it. You could choose to leave it to one person. Does it make you an a-hole for doing it? I don't really think so. It's your money. You worked hard to get all this money. You worked hard to have all this property. You could leave it to a rock in your backyard, and it doesn't matter if they get mad about it. Your will is your will. And here's a not the a-hole one by OK Rip 2794. Not the a-hole. No one is entitled to an inheritance. Isn't that what they always say on here? Why should he split the farm up between people that are going to fight over it and want to sell it? Of course, he should give it to those that are going to actually keep it running. His other kids already showed their true colors by immediately asking about his will when they find out he's dying. Our stories for today have come to a close. If you guys enjoyed this content, please click like or subscribe or leave a comment below. Each of these things helps my channel reach more people in the YouTube algorithm. Until we meet again, have a willful day.